Hello, this is the chapter reading of Alphabet Guy's Box Set by Phoebe Alexander, and the first book is called A-Hole. Chapter 1, Ace. Well, if it isn't my favorite bank teller. I flashed the curvy blonde behind the counter my most dazzling grin. She gave me a polite nod of acknowledgement, but the gray-haired teller stationed next to her beamed as I stepped up with my heavy sack full of coins. "What do you need now?" The blonde, whose name tag read Ella Craig, pushed through a fake smile and clenched teeth. She brushed her wispy golden locks off her shoulder and sucked in a breath as if it pained her to speak to me. "It's only painful because I'm so irresistible," I assured myself as I hoisted my bag onto the counter, where the coins inside clanked together noisily. "Can I get this change converted into bills?" I stroked my chin, already hard at work devising an explanation for my copious coinage, because I just knew she would ask. She always shot back the best banter. No wonder she was my favorite teller. Okay, so the luscious cleavage spilling out of her V-neck floral wrap dress might have also factored into the equation, but just a tiny bit. I mean, I wasn't that guy. All right, I was a little bit that guy, but only 10% max. The other 90% of me was a charming gentleman. Her eyes flew up when she lifted the bag, which just happened to be of the purple velvet Crown Royale variety. Classy, no? Her lips turned up ever so slightly. "Are you really so hard up for cash you had to break your piggy bank?" At first, the only word I heard was hard. How did she know? Could she tell? Then I recovered, brilliantly, I might add. "Actually, it's my nephew's life savings," I explained with a wink. "He wants the cash so he can buy his mother, my sister, a Mother's Day present. Being the kind and supportive uncle I am, I'm going to help him pick something special out for her." When her features instantly softened, my eyes bounced between hers in a victory dance. I don't have a nephew, or a sister for that matter, but there's no need to spoil my story with facts. She pursed her lips, only mildly impressed. "How kind of you." "Well, I'm a pretty kind guy," I conceded, bestowing upon her yet another charming smile. She was so beautiful, she probably got hit on every day. No wonder she wasn't impressed. She hummed something under her breath as she turned to dump the change into her sorting machine. I'd been waiting for an opportunity to catch a glimpse of her backside for weeks now, and I finally had my chance. It did not disappoint. Round, voluptuous, grippable, an image of my fingers digging into her fleshy hips while I drilled into her tight, wet pussy flashed into my mind, instantly firming my already semi-hard cock. In that moment, I was thrilled for Philadelphia's erratic spring temperatures. Late April, and I needed to throw on my jacket before I left our condo. Damn good thing, or the entire bank would be gawking at this boner I was sporting. She turned back to face me, her jaw set firmly, but there was the faintest hint of amusement flirting with the corners of her lips. "You also seem to be a guy with a lot of, banking needs," she observed before throwing a glance over her shoulder to see if the machine was finished sorting. It was not. "I do have a lot of needs, yes. Give an inch, take a mile. That was my motto." Her nose wrinkled at my audacity. The sorting machine clicked off, which led to a wide grin appearing on her face. "Just a moment, Mr. Bennett." Mr. Bennett, so formal. Well, at least she remembered my name, though she'd have to be a ditz not to after I'd been in here 4 or 5 times already in the past few weeks. It was getting harder and harder, dick jokes aside, to come up with excuses to visit this branch, though it was conveniently located on the first floor of my building. I could do 99% of my banking online, which is probably why I never saw anyone else my age in here. Less competition for me, though, so I was a fan of those odds. Ella carried a printout from the machine over to the counter and pressed a button that opened her cash drawer. After throwing a fluttery glance my way, she whipped out some bills and counted them so fast it nearly made my head spin. $33.56, Mr. Bennett. She handed over a white envelope emblazoned with the bank's logo after she'd stuffed the bills and remaining coins inside. Hope your nephew finds something special for his mother. You can call me Ace, you know. I took the envelope from her, hoping to brush my fingers against hers, but she was too fast. She pursed those beautiful, full lips again. I know. I had yet to use her name out loud, though I'd said it many, many times in my head. During each encounter, I kept waiting for, and you can call me Ella, to roll off her tongue, but it never did. I hadn't given up, though. I was nothing if not tenacious. That served me well in my chosen vocation. I'd been out with a half-dozen women in the past year or so, ever since I moved in with my buddies here in Philadelphia, our big college reunion 7 years after we graduated together from Penn. But none of the women I'd met held my interest. They were so... I hadn't been able to put my finger precisely on the problem, but I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of prudish, fake, and pretentious. Ella Craig was none of those things, and I was sure of it. She had a smart mouth, an equally smart mind. I could just tell by the way her sharp hazel eyes pierced into me. And those curves. Damn. I didn't usually see curves like that on an aforementioned prudish, fake, pretentious ladies I seemed to meet through my friends and the occasional foray onto dating apps. Is there anything else I can do for you today, Mr. Bennet? She questioned, the words flat and bitter as they spilled from her lips. Her gray-haired colleague flashed her a look of disapproval. Ella was obligated to ask me that. It was part of the teller oath or something. How about a date? I ventured. Go big or go home, right? I had stood in this exact position at her counter 4 or 5 times already in the past few weeks, the recipient of the same offer for more help, but I'd never quite had the fortitude to go for it. But I knew if I walked away without her phone number this time, my buddies were never going to let me live it down. They'd heard me sing the praises of this buxom blonde for the past few weeks, and they were almost as sick of hearing about her as they were my new material. What is it you do for a living, Mr. Bennet? She flashed a curious smile at me as her long pink fingernails drummed against the glossy wood countertop. I grunted. I was not expecting that question, and the answer was complicated. I mean, I had just changed careers, and I wasn't really established yet, but Mr. Bennet? Her golden brown eyes arched as those hazel eyes stabbed into me. I'm a comedian, I revealed sheepishly. She cleared her throat. I'm sorry, I don't date comedians. Have you ever dated a comedian? I pressed. No, she said stoically, because I don't date them. She was one tough nut to crack, so to speak. When was the last time you had a really good laugh? If I couldn't get her to go out with me, maybe I could get her to at least show up to one of my shows. She rolled her eyes before leaving her gaze on me again. Honestly, I don't even like comedy. Well, that's a stab to the heart. But I swallowed down the pain and pressed on, like any gallant knight would. Would you care to make a bet? I could tell she was just on the verge of exasperation, but something about my offer made a spark of interest crackle in her irises. What kind of bet? Her eyes narrowed in on me and my cock jerked to attention again. Damn, this woman could drive me wild with a single look. She was clearly intrigued. Bets were my specialty, so it didn't take me long to come up with one. Come to my show tonight, and if I make you laugh, you gotta have a drink with me after my set. I would be using some material tonight that killed at my last gig, and I'd worked on the timing, so I was expecting an even better reaction. This was a bet I couldn't lose, and if Ella didn't think I was funny at all, well, then I probably had no business dating her anyway. Though I had to admit, the challenge of getting her to laugh was rather titillating, so to speak. She rolled her eyes again, but I could tell she was having trouble disguising her smile when she trapped her lower lip between her teeth. All right. When and where? I gave her the details, and then a little bow as I snagged my velvet Crown Royale pouch off the counter. Fare thee well, milady. Her nose scrunched in the most adorable way before her lips tilted up in a priceless smirk. Oh yeah, this was a bet I could not lose. I practically danced through the lobby of my building to the elevator, tipping an imaginary hat at the doorman as he just shook his head at me in amusement. Carl was used to my antics. I had a whole bit about doormen in my act. I'd have to get Carl some free tickets to one of my shows so he could enjoy the comedy he inspired. I reached the 56th floor, where our 2 condos overlooked the Center City District in the heart of Philadelphia, and turned my key in the lock. Speaking of the city of brotherly love, it was an apt location for me to live with the 4 guys I considered to be my brothers, even though I was an only child. They were the 4 guys who'd stuck by me through thick and thin, all through our college days when we were coming of age and every day since. I was the only one whose job involved unconventional hours, so no one would be home yet at this time in the afternoon. That afforded me the opportunity to get in the right mindset for my gig later that night, the gig where Ella would be watching me perform for the first time. The right mindset usually involved 2 shots, a hot shower, and an orgasm. Not necessarily in that order. I was on my way to the bathroom, unbuckling my belt, and about to get a head start on palming my dick when I heard laughter in the living room bar area. I jerked my hand away just in time to avoid my roommate Fox's prowling stare. "Hey, what are you doing home?" I choked out. I should have known better than to whip it out without making absolutely certain I was alone. If Fox or any of the other guys had caught me jerking off, I would have been the butt of their jokes for years to come. With all their love and support came plenty of razzing. We had a long, storied history, the 5 of us. These days, Fox and I shared the 2-bedroom condo, and Dante, Ozzy, and Cruz shared the 3-bedroom. The 2 massive condos were nearly 2,000 square feet each, purchased by Fox's dad last fall, when we all converged on our old college stomping grounds. Boss gave us the afternoon off. His eyebrows drew together as he scanned down my body. "Why are your pants falling off?" He was the boss, so... Wait, what did he say about my pants? Shit! I looked down, and sure enough, my pants were sliding down my thighs. I hadn't even noticed. I'd been so swept up in the competing agendas of visiting my Ella-themed spank bank and avoiding Fox catching me doing so. "Oh, does that mean—" My question was answered when our door swung open and the rest of the gang shuffled in. Ozzy carried a 6-pack of fancy schmancy craft beer, while Dante held what appeared to be a crock pot, and Cruz just wore a smirk like he didn't need to bring anything to the party but himself. "Wait, what's that? I thought you guys were coming to my show tonight," I whined as Dante set the crock pot on the countertop and plugged it in. Smelled like meatballs. "I thought you guys were coming to my show tonight," Cruz imitated me like the whiny bitch he was accusing me of being. "It's 3:30, Dante fired back, tossing his oven mitts on the granite countertop. "Isn't your show at 8? I snagged a warm-up slot for the main act. Okay, scratch that. I was the warm-up for the warm-up act, who went on at 9. I was still getting my sea legs. You try switching from finance to stand-up comedy. It's not exactly an easy transition. My buddies and I were all going through transitions of sorts. Fox had just gotten divorced after his wife cheated on him with her personal trainer. Ozzy was starting up a doctoral program to become a chemistry professor, though he currently worked for Fox's dad's pharmaceutical company that specialized in developing vaccines. Cruz was at the tail end of his modeling career and was looking for a fresh start in Philly, again, after being in New York for the past 5 years. And Dante was starting a new job, still in advertising, but now he was the creative director or some swanky-ass title. "Hey, what's this Crown Royale bag doing here?" Cruz called from the kitchen. Or more to the point, where's the Crown Royale that goes in it? Sometimes it didn't seem like Cruz had ever left college mentally, possibly because he was used to being around folks in their late teens and early 20s in his modeling career. The funny thing was, he couldn't hold his liquor worth a shit. I used it to carry some change to the bank," I answered, and as soon as those words slipped out of my mouth, I knew I'd made a grave error. "The bank?" Forehead swiveled until each pair of eyes locked in on me. Ah, fuck. "Well?" Fox demanded. "Did you get her number this time?" Before I could answer, Ozzy interjected. "Come on, man, you took a bag of coins to the bank?" Dante shook his head, laughing. "I think there's a word for this. Desperation," Ozzy supplied. Well, did she give you her number or not? Cruz asked. Don't hold us in suspense, and I wasn't joking. I'd like to know the whereabouts of the bottle that was in that bag. I swallowed hard as my eyes bounced from one buddy to the next till I'd made the rounds. She agreed to come to my show tonight. I saw something flash across Dante's face, and when he turned to Ozzy, he nodded. No, I growled. Come on, guys, don't even think about it. She's the curvy blonde teller from downstairs, right? The one I always run into at the Starbucks on the corner in the morning, Fox verified. I palmed my face, refusing to answer them. Yeah, that's her, two of the guys said in unison. Ella is her name, Ozzy reminded everyone. Please don't talk to her, I warned them. I'd gotten Fox really good a week or two ago, and he was all about vengeance at the moment. Oh, don't worry about us, Fox said with an evil grin, coming along beside me to put a hand on my shoulder. He squeezed a little too firmly. Why don't you just concentrate on preparing for your act tonight? That was the least reassuring thing I'd heard in a long time. I had no choice but to drop this topic of conversation and move on with my pre-show routine, including the hot shower and a visit to the spank bank. Hopefully Ella would laugh at my jokes, follow through with my bet, and be in my bed before the end of the night.